Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Psychiatric Exile. This week I will be talking about another film I watched recently. This one called Disappear Completely. A fine horror film, and I generally think horror works best when horror films work best when they are symbolic in nature. They stand as some sort of allegory, usually psychological in nature. And Most of my favorite horror films um, work that way. And this is a good example of that. I think when horror takes itself literally, I don't find it as interesting. So, this is a movie released in 2022. I watched it recently on Netflix, and the director is Luis Javier Enaine, and he wrote the screenplay with Ricardo Aguado Fentanes. The studio is Moonlight Pictures. Now, this contains heavy spoilers, so be warned. The premise is we have the protagonist who works as a photojournalist, and we see his development psychologically, personality wise, as he starts as a very self centered character, unable to see beyond his own needs and priorities. In the film, he learns that he's going to be a father, and his first reaction is to have his girlfriend abort the baby. He doesn't want the responsibilities that come with that. He doesn't want to settle down, and he's not ready to have other people in his life be as important as himself, let alone more important than himself. And interestingly, the same night that he learns he's going to be a father, he goes to a crime scene to take pictures, in order to sell these pictures to a newspaper. And in the act of doing that, he becomes cursed, and the curse consists of him losing his senses one by one, hearing, talking, vision, smelling, the five senses. We actually see what the end result of this progression is in this crime scene, because the person he's photographing is actually alive, and unable to relate to the outside world, unable to talk, unable to perceive what's around him. The victim of the original victim that we see of this curse, um, cannot relate to the outside world. It's completely locked in, if you will. So, as the protagonist begins to lose his senses, he's in a race against time to figure things out and see if he can reverse this curse. Um, Eventually, we see him confronted by a demon, a demonic supernatural creature that offers to take away the curse if he sacrifices his unborn child. And at the end of the scene, the protagonist refuses this offer, and instead he chooses to sacrifice himself in order to save his yet to be born child. I thought that was a pretty brilliant allegory of growing up, the voyage from selfish immaturity to selfless adulthood. If you think about it, when you get married, you are allowing someone else to be as important as yourself in your life. And that's a big step. But fatherhood takes it one step further, because now you are willing to have someone else in your life be the most important thing in your life. It's an act of self sacrifice. And psychologically, it has been described as the beginning of your death. Like, now your responsibility is to bring this life to the world, help him or her develop, and look beyond your own life and the legacy you want to leave behind. So we can see, we can think of the demon in this picture as a form of Jungian shadow, where it's the incarnation of the patient's tendency to avoid responsibility and to refuse to grow up psychologically. So if I sacrifice my child, if I continue to insist to my girlfriend that she aborts him, then I will not disappear. I will not continue to disappear, because the losing of the senses here and the meaning of the title disappear completely points towards a view of parenthood where, again, is a form of self-sacrifice, self-effacement. As you bring your child to the world and he continues to develop, you are effacing yourself. You are disappearing. You are not the most important thing in your life. You're making space for this new person in the world as it becomes the most important thing in your life. So the sacrifice that the protagonist chooses to make in the end is an allegory, a symbol of the sacrifice of fatherhood as this form of self effacement. Um, and I thought that, as such, as an allegory of parenthood as self effacement, this was a pretty brilliant film, pretty brilliant and original in that sense. You can take the film literally, just see it as a literal horror, but it has that this extra layer of meaning when you think about it that makes it even more impactful, I think. I think it should also be noted that this is just one possible view of fatherhood, or parenthood, as a self-effacement, sacrifice, and whatnot. You don't have to see it that way. It's not the only way to approach that stage in life and that challenge. Um, but it certainly seems to be the view of parenthood that the movie takes. So highly recommended. It's available on Netflix. I'm not sure if it's available on physical media or what other outlets, but if you have access to that service, it's and you're a fan of horror, especially psychological horror, it's highly recommended. So that's it for this week. Thank you all for your time as usual, and I'll see you next time. Bye.